The next question comes from Meenu Sara Mathai from CSF, Chennai Speakers Forum. She asks you, how has life changed after your World Championship victory?
My life continues to change. I won the World Championship back in the year 2000. And for those of you who haven't seen my speech, it's called One of Those Days. And basically, short story is this: I confront an angry young man who was rude to a customer service agent at an airport. I mean, he was exceptionally rude. He was so rude to the point where I've never done it before and I've never done it since, but I confronted him on his behavior. And that's what the speech is about. And there's someone wrote a book on the World Championship of Public Speaking. Apparently, it's the funniest speech of all time. They actually counted the number of laughs and how long the laughs were. That person obviously had too much time on their hands. But apparently, it's the funniest speech of all time in Toastmasters International. But it's not the winning of the contest that made the difference. What made the difference is me confronting that young man and standing up for the woman that he was very, very rude to. I did it not because someone told me to do it or I was going to get some type of recognition or even I can write a speech. I did it because it was the right thing to do in the moment. Now, if you watch the speech, you'll discover I confront this guy. I just do it for me. I just do it, to confront the guy. Anyway, one of the supervisor who saw that young man be rude to her employee saw me confront the guy. She goes to a supervisor at United Airlines, and then when it's my turn to go in line, they actually upgrade me to first class. So sometimes when you do the right thing, you never know who's watching. Well, that moment in time, me confronting that young man continues to pay dividends to this day. I'm still benefiting and profiting. I mean, literally, I have a career as a full-time professional speaker. That would have never happened had I not confronted that young man. So it's not so much winning the world championship, it's doing the right thing. And I think that's how God has paid me back over and over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolute sense. Yeah, absolute sense. The next question comes from Padma Priya from Ericsson Toastmasters Club. And this is something we touched upon a little bit with the 3 speeches and 2 speeches era. But the question is, what do you think is the biggest difference in the World Championship contests between 2000 and today, 2019?
Well, I'm part of the old school world champions where we had to have 3 speeches. Today, you only have to have 2. So that's the biggest difference there. The other difference is what I'm seeing now is we're actually having younger champions. Like the last couple of years, I think all the champions have been like in their 20s or so. So that's been a different change and a different shift, if you will. Finally, we have a female champion. Thank you. Because the number one question I get, for example, for years was, how come there's, it's only men, it's only men, it's only men. So thankfully, I never have to answer that question anymore. And in this case, this past year, we actually had, it was a clean sweep by the women. First, second, and third place. So I'm thankful for that as well. So those are some of the things. I think the one thing that does make the difference, and I may be stepping into one of the other questions, is you have to look at something that's universal. And for example, for me, my speech is about, if there's a core message, it's this: if not you, then who? And sometimes it's you, as opposed to, you ever heard the expression, someone ought to do something about this, someone ought to do something about that? Well, my core message is that sometimes it's you. Darren Tate, who is my coaching client, and I helped him win the world championship, we actually created his championship speech in under 48 hours, starting from scratch. Under 48 hours. His core message is how we beat ourselves up. He had a speech about bullying, but his message was, his difference was how we beat ourselves up when we're not successful, when we don't do things, etc. So that was his core, but that was universal. That was universal. So I think one of the key elements of a successful speech, and that's never going to change, is, do you have a message that you want to tell the world that the world can relate to? is not just American. It's not just any specific culture. It's not male or female. It's not just for one gender. It is a message that we can all relate to. So I think that is the thing that makes the difference. So if you have a speech, what is the message you want to tell the world? I have a friend of mine. His name is Michael Haig. I'm trying to find his book. And of course, you can't find things when you want them quickly. But he is a Hollywood producer. A Hollywood screenwriter. And he said a story is your secret recipe as to how you can improve the life of the audience. That's what a story is. A story is your secret recipe as to how you can improve the life for the audience. What is your secret recipe? What is your message? And if you deliver that secret recipe, they might hand you a Lucite trophy.
Thank you, Ed. The next question also something that we are touching upon a little bit. This comes from Raghav. He's also from the Ericsson Toastmasters Club. And he asks, as a speaker, should I work on improving my strengths or should I focus on improving my weaknesses?
Okay, I love this question. And the reason I love this question is because I am a fan of strengths. I'm a fan of focusing on your strengths. If you focus on your weaknesses, improving your weaknesses, the best you can hope for is average. You'll never achieve excellence just by focusing on your weaknesses. Again, that's my bias. I could be wrong. But for example, your strengths are something you're excited about, you're good at, and you can constantly get, and you'll work on it without effort. Whereas a weakness is something you may struggle with. So for example, for me in college, bookkeeping and accounting, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And it's something I'm never going to be great at. It's something I'm never going to like. But guess what? I have an awesome accountant and I have an awesome bookkeeper because I pay them a lot of money. You know what? I'm going to pay people to fix my weaknesses. And that's what I do. And I'm going to focus on my strengths. I got 3 strengths when it comes to Ed Tate's speaking business. Number 1, creating content. Number 2, delivering that content. And number 3, selling that content. And everything else with regard to my business, I delegate. I've got an assistant. Her name is Summer. Summer takes care of all of my administrative details. I've got a world-class video team. I have a website. You name it. Everyone else, I write them a check. I pay them money because that's the way how I can be better, by focusing on my strengths and delegating my weaknesses.